Hi there, listener. We, the editorial team of a manufacturer, have the great privilege of bringing you interviews from some of the best manufacturers, leaders, industry analysts, young pioneers, innovators, and solution providers. But sadly, we can't possibly fit all of them into our podcast episodes. Fear not, though, because you're listening to Archives, a platform where you can hear these fascinating and thought-provoking interviews in full. In this episode, it's another interview from the manufacturer studio at Digital Manufacturing Week 2022 with a Manufacturing Leaders Summit keynote speaker, Sebastian Elmgren, Head of Business Development at Ericsson.
Good morning, welcome to Smart Factory Expo Day 2. I'm here in the manufacturer studio with Sebastian Elmgren from Ericsson. You are the Head of Business Development at Ericsson. You've been giving your keynote at Manufacturing Leaders Summit this morning, talking all things 5G in relation to manufacturing. So to kick us off, can you perhaps give us a little overview, a little flavour of your talk this morning?
Yeah, so to talk about how 5G and lean production links together, how 5G can take them traditional ways of working, continue with that, but bring in more data, bring in more flexibility in the ways of working, and how you could utilize that in new ways.
Fantastic. And obviously 5G is sort of opening up new doors for manufacturers, so perhaps can you talk a little bit around why 5G is different to previous generations, and particularly in reference to manufacturing?
So I would say the main difference is, if we look at previous generations of cellular technology, is that 5G is the first technology that is made for machines. 4G, 3G was built for people. Basically, they could do one thing about smartphones. With 5G, we have lots of different flavors. You can do everything from simple sensors, bandwidth requiring vision systems, low latency remote control, connected workers, mobility, and all of those things with the same infrastructure. So a much higher degree of flexibility than we've seen in previous generations.
As a follow-up to that, what would that mean for manufacturers? What will that enable that perhaps wasn't possible before? And do you have any sort of industrial use cases that you can give as examples?
Yeah, so what it does, it simplifies their infrastructure. So right now, if you look at a typical factory, there's a massive amount of different networks. They have a Zigbee network, a Bluetooth network, a cable network, a couple of Wi-Fi network, a LoRa network, and basically one network per application to handle that. And it becomes a very high cost, TCO cost to handle all of those networks. We can simplify that to have one infrastructure for all of that. Also adding to that, compared to the unlicensed technologies like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, we're a licensed technology, which means that we can have much higher reliability, and therefore opening up for use cases that requires predictability and deterministic ways of working, which we can't do with legacy technologies. And third dimension is as well that 5G, we talk a lot about 5G in the factory now, but 5G exists also on a global scale. So it's both a local and a global technology, and we can go between those two worlds. So we can look beyond the just connected factory, we can look at the connected supply chain, we can look at the connected life cycle of a product, like no other technology has been able to do before.
Okay, and so opening up this whole new level, whole new realm of connectivity, what would that do? What does that impact does that have with regards to cybersecurity, which perhaps wasn't on the agenda, wasn't on the landscape for manufacturers perhaps in the past?
Yeah, of course, you need to take that into consideration, and then I think also what a lot of companies are looking at is private networks, where you get your own 5G network and standalone network, isolated, all the data stays inside the factory, and you're in control of what's happening. So, and then adding on the security from the SIM cards that we use for identifying devices connected to the network, that's an extra layer of security. Because, we do start to connect a lot of strange things in the factory. It's not longer a managed laptop as you normally have in office environments. It's screwdrivers, it's robots, it's ADVs. You need to think about security in a different way and have that in a very controlled environment. So.
Okay, and of course Ericsson are a manufacturer in their own right, so you guys have been down this journey yourselves. Obviously you have a smart factory of your own in the US now. Can you talk a little bit around that and the role that 5G's played, what sort of tech is being deployed, and perhaps what lessons have you guys learned from that process?
Yeah, I mean, we had a great opportunity to introduce, build a new factory, and then also introduce this technology, both to drink our own champagne to be more credible, and but also to learn from the use cases. Where do we create value? And I think what we learned there is the quite basic use cases that create the value right now. It's where we add extra reliability, improve the coverage, improve the capacity, things that are quite basic but really creates value from day one. So things like predictive maintenance, being able to add more sensors to your equipment, understand what's happening. It's AGVs, having extra reliability on your material handling also improves productivity. And as well as enhancing the operators on the shop floor with AR technology and also giving them access to decision systems that normally only were back office. Now they can take the decisions in the front line, so to say, on the shop floor, and we can work in a much more agile way. But again, also we learned that we also need to adopt the ways we are working. Just introducing new technology won't give us the full value.
Yep.
We also need to say, okay, now we are more flexible. How do we utilize that?
Yes.
Now we are more agile, can take faster decisions. Can we move the decision point somewhere else and do that? So that's part of the learning journey that we have made.
Sure. And another element of your talk was you spoke around how 5G impacts the concept of lean manufacturing. Can you sort of explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I mean, the lean manufacturing is a lot about being data-driven, taking decision based on facts. And again, 5G becomes that layer that can bring data, collect data, to the point where you analyze and then return the data so you can act on that and do that in a very reliable way, adding even more data into the lean manufacturing concept, and also linking where we right now see a lot of islands of information in the factory. We can link those together and we can start looking at the flow efficiency of the factory more than individual resources, as well as we can link all the way back to the customer, becoming more flexible, moving from a make to stock to a make to order, minimizing waste again, because we know there's a customer for everything we produce. Again, the flexibility is there. We need to have a wireless technology. So all of those things that are there and have kind of been visionary within the lean manufacturing, now we can take one step closer to actually do those things.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, high on the agenda of most manufacturers is, sustainability and net zero. So how does that kind of element of manufacturing play in and around 5G?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, the flexibility to be able to have a one-piece flow with using the same level of resources as you now have for volume production will be the biggest key to sustainability, because right now, when we produce to stock, there's a lot of waste. We produce things that we don't actually need. If we can have the flexibility to be as fast as we are today with volume production, but have customized, we know that every pair of jeans that we produce have a customer, and we don't need to have a sale or burn the clothes or whatever in the end of the year. And I think that's something that's often forgotten, that we should produce the right things. But then we also have the fundamental reduction of waste in the lean concept to utilize with improved quality, which we can do with vision systems and so on. That's also there. It's all in line with lean and reduction of use of resources. Yeah,
sure. And sort of getting a crystal ball out for a second. What does the future hold for 5G, and how does 6G play into the agenda over time?
So I think that the next step for 5G is really, as we touched a bit on here, to go beyond just the local connectivity and combine that with the global connectivity that exists. We see the car manufacturers are already doing that, where you have 5G as a digital thread carrying information throughout the whole life cycle of a product, and it also comes back to recycling and have this closed loop of your production. So I think that's what we're starting to move. And then with 6G, I mean, it's early days, but the guys in research, they're already there. They have machines that they're testing this on. I mean, we'll see even shorter latencies, more bandwidth. We're taking this to to the next step. But it doesn't mean that we will throw out 5G. It will coexist. It's just an evolution of
yeah,
that.
Yeah. And just finally, Sebastian, what's how you found the show so far? Have you got any sort of key takeaways you'd like to share?
It's been an excellent show. I'm really impressed, and as you can hear, I've had a lot of good discussions yesterday, so that's why I lost my voice. And it's a very good mix. I mean, I think you find the right size of the event here. It's not too small, but not too large, and it's the right kind of mix of the people here, and we have super discussions here, so really happy.
Fantastic. Well, I hope your voice holds up for the rest of the day, and thanks for joining us on the TM studio.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed that, listener. Keep an ear out for more episodes like this one, and of course for more episodes of the Manufacturer Podcast. Whatever streaming site you're listening on, be it Spotify or Apple Music, be sure to give this podcast a follow and a rating. And if you're watching this on YouTube, why not subscribe to our channel for the latest video content?